We're at 46, but I know it gets shallower over there. Did you hear that thunder?
I do hear that thunder. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Sailing svSomeday. We took our ASA 103-104 class, so we wanted to kind of run through that for anybody that might be interested in that or thinking about doing that, or people that have no idea what it is. You know, we can kind of
document our experience.
Yeah, walk through that process. So we're finally doing our ASA 103-104 class. Yay! We are returning to South Coast Sailing Adventures in Kemah, Texas. That's where we took our ASA 101. We had a pretty good experience with them, so we figured we'd go back. Unfortunately for us, it's a 4.5-hour road trip to get down there, but that's no big deal. I forgot to shave and pour some coffee on myself, so I'm doing quite well. And on the way down, Darla's studying her flashcards and practicing tying knots, finishing up reading that book, or both books, I guess. So, yeah, it should be pretty cool.
I've been studying the whole way down here, but I'm pretty nervous about taking a test. But I'm always nervous about taking tests. But I've been practicing my knots, so hopefully I'll remember those when it comes time. So,
yeah, no big deal.
No big deal.
ASA 103-104 is a combo class where you spend 3 nights and 3 days, I guess, on a boat, and you do some sailing and you learn skills and you take tests and you do all this kind of stuff. And at the end of it, you, at least according to the American Sailing Association, are able to skipper a boat of up to 45 feet in length in 30-knot winds on a multi-day cruise. We took ASA 101 a couple of years, or almost 2 years ago, and so we wanted to continue our education.
But I wasn't prepared to take it right away, so that's why, you know, after we did the ASA 101, then we came and bought this boat, and we've been sailing it and learning how to sail for the last 2 years, but we figured now it's time to continue our classes. So.
Yeah. Or at the very minimum, you know, sail with an instructor to say, hey, you're not doing that thing quite right, or you need to do this, or hey, here's a cool trick, or
did we learn? Did we teach ourselves improperly? Was a good test.
We might have developed bad habits.
To correct bad habits.
So that was part of it too. Also, we never really been in a bunch of like ship channel traffic situations with great big tankers and all that kind of thing, and not that we wouldn't be able to do it, but it's better to be with someone that already has experience having done that. ASA 103-104, there's a ASA 103 test and a 104 test, and there's a book for each one. The stuff in the 104 book does duplicate some of the stuff in the 103 book. You don't have to take both classes at the same time as a combo. You can just take 103 and then take 104 later.
I think it was best to do it at the same time.
I think so too. But you do have to take 2 tests. Each test was 100 questions. In addition to the written test, you have to demonstrate that you could do, all these other skills as well. I mean, he has to know that you are competent enough to do that to make you pass score. So we left on a Thursday. The class starts on Thursday night. The class starts at 6 p.m. You meet with your instructor, and then you go check out the boat that you're going to be spending the time on. And he gives you a briefing and everything. Checklist of things to check, and then the next step is to go provisioning. Our guy, Captain Tony, he said that he always sees students hauling out tons of food at the end of the trip. So he challenged us to not over provision, like don't buy too much stuff and then have to end up taking it home. Right. It was us, the Captain Tony, the instructor, and then one other crew. And we provisioned, and it was about $120. Mm-hmm. Does that sound right? Yeah. So $120 for 3 days, 3 meals a day for 4 people is not that bad. So we got all the provisions, and just about the time we got back to the boat, lightning, thunder, buckets of rain, and then hail. So the first night after we provisioned, we just kind of were locked up in the boat trying to stay dry. And it turns out all the hatches leaked really badly.
Yeah, not like a drip. It was just a stream of water.
Fortunately, we were in the aft berth, so our windows were covered by the bimini, so it didn't leak back there. I don't think there's really a lesson to be learned there, other than if it's a boat and it's raining, it may leak. We were on a Beneteau, I think it was a 2005 Beneteau Oceanus 393. So our ASA 103-104 boat is a Beneteau, I think it's 2005, Beneteau 393. This is the salon area. All our stuff's piled up all over the place here. In front of the salon area is a berth. And then in front of that, there's a head. Nothing too exciting there. And the galley is to the port side of the companionway. Normal stuff, microwave, stove, refrigerator, freezer. And then there's an aft cabin where we have been hanging out. Pretty good size. It says it's a queen size, so plenty of room back there. We've got dual ACs in this boat. Or one, I guess, I don't know if there's two or just one or whatever, but anyway, so that's about it. Another head here. Woo. That was Thursday provision and everything, and then the next morning we met Captain Tony back at the school to go over our plan for the day, and that also part of that was to learn navigation, you know, the speed, distance, time, circle, and how to calculate those things, because that was going to be on the test as well.
Charting out a route on the maps.
Yeah, our first stop was to go to the pump out station, and I think it might have been then we noticed that the wind instrument didn't work properly, chart plotter didn't work.
Right.
I think the only instrument they had that worked was
the depth.
depth sounder. So there were some instruments that didn't work, which is a challenge, but I think in the long run we were probably better off that they
Right.
didn't work.
Right.
So then after we left the pump out station, we went to the fuel dock, and it was closed. And that's when we noticed that the fuel gauge didn't work.
Right.
We were like, well, I wonder if we have enough fuel. So then we took off towards Galveston.
Well, before we did that, we did do some practice drills out in Clear Lake by backing the boat up. So that was new for me, because I don't usually handle like the docking and getting our boat back in and out of our slip. And so it was nice to be able to practice in an open area, just steering in reverse and getting to like a point, and then doing a we lined up between like two swing sets that was on the side, and then we'd back up and we'd have to stop in between those, see how fast we could stop in between the swing sets.
We had really nice wind, so we didn't really have to tack that much on the way down.
I don't think we tacked at all. We just kind of followed we skirted the outside of the ship channel all the way.
It was between a close reach and a beam reach. So
when the ship channel would kind of change, luckily our wind changed with it, and we just
but it was weird to have those great big barges and all these things, you know, just big, huge, massive boats coming by, and you know, just
because we had good wind and we had a pretty good heel, and you could hear the tugboat coming up behind you, like you could hear the water splashing, gaining behind you, so that was a little intimidating.
Yeah. We made it down to the Galveston Channel, and at that particular area there's the ICW crosses. The Houston Ship Channel goes this way, the Galveston Channel goes this way, and then all the traffic from offshore comes by the jetty and into all that. So there's like 4 or 5 different things that converge at the same time. So there's just massive ships and fishing boats and ferries and all this stuff going all different directions. Excellent experience.
Right.
You know, that's one of the things that we really wanted to do, is get in all that traffic, and you know, who has the right of way and all this. Obviously we usually don't, because most of it's commercial traffic, but you know, other sailboats, and just having to navigate all of that was pretty cool.
And listen to the barges talk to each other about which direction, you know, where they were turning, where they were going. You know, there was a lot of traffic on the VHF radio.
We were just about to the entrance of the marina, and we're taking the sails down, turned the engine on, and we noticed that there was no water coming out of the exhaust. And then now we got a problem. That's
when the temperature alarm went off, so we immediately turned around out of the marina, threw the sails back up, and then I manned the helm, Chris with the winches, and Steve and Captain Tony went below to see what was going on with the engine.
We took off the plate on the front of the impeller to replace it, and two things occurred at that point in time. One, the impeller looked fine. It didn't look messed up at all, but it was dry in there. There wasn't water there. But the other thing was that the spare impeller was the wrong size, so we couldn't have gotten it in there anyway, even if the impeller was exploded. So it wasn't that. So then we're starting to think, what do we do? What can we do here? So we checked the strainer, took it out, make sure it was all clean, and eventually what we ended up doing was taking the hose off the raw water seacock and jamming a bent up coat hanger down there, You know, and it seemed clear too. And when we got the engine started again, Darla said she saw black
smoke,
like black stuff coming out.
Yeah, it was black water and black smoke coming out the.
So we figured that we got something jammed in there. So, but we had to go into emergency mode because we're in a little tight spot where there's not a whole lot of room to sail.
We were the cruise ships and some other big ships docked right in there, and so I was just kind of tacking back and forth, and then I'd downwind. Back out of there, then I tacked back up the channel. So I just kind of did that 3 or 4 times.
We sailed as much as we could, and we sailed as close to the slip in the marina as we could, thinking if we had just a little bit of engine, we could probably get it in there and then assess the problem more. So.
Right.
But we got it in, and as it was a good experience of what happens in an emergency, and it was also another good docking experience because we're coming in hot. We don't know how much engine we have, and
halfway sailing into the marina.
So it worked out good.
Yep. But so we get up the next day and we still don't know what's going on with the engine. Still need to kind of troubleshoot that and see what's going on. But looking at the wind conditions to get back to Kima on Saturday instead of waiting for Sunday, it would be the wind would be behind us and we'd have a good sail all the way back and wouldn't have to use the engine, and then we could get back to Kima. We just go back a day earlier, then just jump on another school boat and then finish our class just in Kima instead of in Galveston.
That's when we found out that there was a collision in the Galveston Bay in the Houston Ship Channel between a barge and a tanker or something. I don't even know. And there was a chemical spill.
Late this afternoon, 2 barges and an oil tanker collided in a shipping channel in Houston. One of the barges capsized after a hole opened up in its side. It was carrying about 25,000 barrels of a toxic chemical used to make gasoline. Some of that has spilled into the water.
And it happened just outside of the ship channel at Kima, so
we could not get back.
They closed it down.
Right. So our plan to go back to Kima on Saturday instead of Sunday was kind of blown because
didn't work.
It was closed and you can't go there. Then our plan was like, well, if we're going to just be stuck here all day, we certainly are going to go sailing. That's what you would normally do in that class anyway. And when we get pretty darn close to offshore, we start hearing thunder.
Did you hear that thunder?
I do hear that thunder. Then we start seeing lightning. And then the lightning is very close to us, and then it starts raining a little bit, and we're like, that thing's coming the wrong way.
The weather started getting rough, the tiny ship was tossed.
That's not, that wasn't what was supposed to happen.
So everybody goes and puts their rain gear on real quick.
Everybody except you.
I'm at the helm. By the time they all get back out there, it is pouring down rain. Like you can hardly see in front of you.
To say the least. It looked foggy, but I think it was just raining so hard. Our visibility was a couple of boat lengths, and we're in the Galveston or the Houston Ship Channel between Galveston and offshore, so that's not the best place to have a problem.
We're trying to reef the sails, and we have an in-mast rolling furler on the Beneteau, and it gets jammed. So Captain Tony has to go out on deck to try and, adjust that mainsail so we can get it reefed, get it pulled back in. So I switched places with Steve at that time because the helm was a little intense for me. So Steve takes over at the helm, and so I'm helping Captain Tony pull the mainsail back out and then pull it back in to reef it, and we finally get it fixed. It was a little crazy there, and then we start reefing the headsail in.
Yeah, but by that time, I'm looking at Captain Tony had Navionics on his iPad, so I'm looking at that since our chart plotter didn't work, and we've drifted all the way across the ship channel to the other side, where previously we saw all these tankers that were anchored. And by the time we could see them, we were right beside them, like, oh my goodness. And we kept losing steerage because we were trying to mess with the sails, and the wind would not be blowing, and then it would blow too much, so we'd be, heeling over and then not heeling over. And I'm starting to see boats on the other side of me, on the side where we're supposed to be.
So that was intense.
It was a scene. But again, it's one of those things, like, I'm super glad that happened because it gives you experience of, okay, now this storm didn't go the way you thought it was going to go, and now it's right on top of you.
Right.
What are you going to do?
Right.
Oh, now all of a sudden your furler jams. Now what are you going to do? Okay. And on top of that, we weren't 100% sure that the engine was even sound.
Right.
But we finally made it back to the marina, luckily, kind of limping in there. We figured that's a good opportunity to take the tests.
Yeah. We were
so-
all wore out from that adventure and thought, well, now's a good time to just take tests.
So we took 103, 104 tests back to back, one after the other.
And we passed.
Yeah, that was that was 200 questions, 100 per each test, and we both got 100 on both tests.
Yeah.
I didn't have any problems with 103 test. I didn't really have any problems with 104 tests until the last 5 questions, which were about navigation.
Yeah.
And so the first 95 questions of that test took me 15 minutes maybe, and then the last 5 questions ended up taking me 45 minutes.
I was the last one to finish my test both times.
Yeah. You were hard at work. I have a picture of that.
We learned a lot of stuff from Captain Tony. Just trimming the sails. Obviously, we've been working on that for a few months ourselves. But there was just having the experience of being in the ship channel, having the engine problem, being in that thunderstorm where we lost all the visibility. I mean, those are all things that we haven't experienced yet. So, if anything, that getting that out of the class was well worth it.
Having all that stuff happen with somebody who's a master Coast Guard guy.
Yeah.
He's got everything he needs.
I never felt unsafe.
No,
I always
it was
felt
not
that.
unsafe.
Yeah.
It was just challenging.
Yeah, it was
a little bit.
challenging, but it never felt unsafe or
In hindsight, it was a lot of fun.
It was fun.
Really a lot of good experience in that stuff.
I definitely recommend, to take those classes because, just being out there and having that experience, I think is
worst case
is worth
scenario.
it.
You just take a cool boat ride down to Galveston and back,
Right,
and
right.
it would be cheaper than chartering the same boat, and you learn something along the way. Sunday morning, we called the office up there and checked the Coast Guard and all that stuff, and as far as we could tell, the channel was open, so off we went.
Yep.
And of course, we did have the wind on the nose, but we decided to sail it anyway.
Yeah, we were having a good time sailing.
She ran their Beneteau 393 aground during the class.
Well, my first grounding in somebody else's boat. I
Not
guess.
only she grounded like damn near 7 knots. We were just hauling.
Right. Well, it was a very narrow place, and I was trying to get us tacked out of the little, I don't know what you call that, the channel where the cruise ships and stuff, right? And I was getting us out of there and into the ship channel to get us on our way. So I think I was doing pretty good on my tacks, but I was getting a little close, and I hollered, prepare to tack, and I didn't hear one of the crew members holler back, so I was kind of waiting for a response to make sure everybody was ready for me to tack, and I waited just a second too long, and as I made the tack, I ran aground.
It was pretty.
It was an
hard.
oh shit moment.
I mean,
yeah.
it wasn't like crash. It
Right.
was just, but it wasn't exactly soft. I mean,
Yeah.
we were going pretty fast,
Yeah.
and we slowed down pretty
But
abruptly.
you knew that you had just ran aground, but luckily I was right in my tack.
We were halfway through the tack,
Yeah.
and it was just like.
And I just tacked us right off of there. I think I should get extra credit for that.
clean their keel off for us.
Yeah. So that
did
was, so I'm glad I got my first grounding
Yeah.
experience on somebody
And
else's.
ungrounding.
Yeah, on somebody else's boat.
Even though the wind was against us, we decided to go ahead and go back, and we would just tack back and forth across the channel and just ride the shoulders a little bit and use all the space that we had. And it was interesting to try to gauge when you see ships coming down the channel. They might be coming 17 or 18 knots, but they're way over there. They look they're really far away, so they're coming this way and you're going this way and everything's cool. But you tack, are you going to make it at your 6 knots to their 18?
Right.
Because you turn around and look and they're like right there as opposed to way back there because they're going so fast. So you had to kind of figure out, can we make it?
And it was a steady heel all day
Oh,
until
yeah.
we got
Yeah,
back
nice
into
heel.
Kima. And we got back into Kima, the clouds went away, the sun came out, it was a beautiful day,
Right.
and then the wind stopped.
Yeah, then the wind stopped. So then when we got back up into Kima, we had to do man overboard drills where you go pick up your person in water, as they call it now. We named our little guy Pedro, and we tossed him out in the water.
Sorry,
and then
Pedro.
Yeah, so then we had to make the maneuvers and go pick him back up with a boat hook and make sure that we could do all that. And then we went to practice anchoring and learn how to do that, and the windlass didn't work.
Right.
So there was a spare windlass remote, but it wasn't wired, so it wouldn't fit into the receptacle that was there. So again, we had to just sort of, you just got to make do and
Right.
and simulate it. We were able to simulate it by using a dock line and
Yep.
everything. So, and we talked about the hand signals and all the kind of things that we haven't really used here. So, so it was good to learn all that. Even though the windlass didn't work, it was fine.
I think we learned what we needed to out of that.
Yeah, we'll be
I
fine.
mean, the other part would just been, pulling up that heavy ass anchor by
Right.
hand since the windlass didn't work.
Yeah,
and
we didn't want to do that.
Nobody really wanted to deal with that.
Yeah, so.
After we did our anchoring, then we were ready just to go back in. And so we stopped to get gas because now hopefully the gas dock is open. So we go, and that's another opportunity to practice docking. So we docked at the gas dock, and we go to get gas, and we don't have a winch handle that fits the
deck fill
the
plate.
deck fill plate.
Yeah,
for
every
gas.
deck fill plate, the winch handle we had, open it right up, but this one was a different size for some reason. So I'm like, now what are we gonna do?
So we had to go scramble, and we
Yeah,
found, I think it was a pair of
fashion some tools,
needle
to
nose
get it in
pliers
there.
or something to use to get in there. And
It's
so
a
we,
MacGyver moment.
right. So we
But
got
that, you know, it's a sailboat. You're like 80% MacGyver moments.
Right.
Things break, and you're like, well, let's just tie this thing to that thing and pull on this, and
Yeah.
okay, that works fine.
yeah, ingenuity.
What the hell are you doing? Well, there's still got to be some fluid in the power steering, right? Maybe I can pump it into the brake cylinder. Sure that'll work? No.
So we're leaving from the gas dock, and Coast Guard pulls up and says, you either get out or get in because we're closing this, because they're putting up some more of those.
They were literally shutting off the entrance to Clear Lake.
Trying
so
to keep that
all
chemical
boat
spill
traffic.
out of Clear Lake. They were putting up some more of those diapers across the thing, and they weren't letting boats in or out anymore.
Yeah.
But
So we're like, we're just going right
so
over there. They were
we
like,
got
"All
out
right, good."
just in the nick of time.
Minutes before. If we would have made one more trip around for anchoring practice or anything,
We wouldn't have made it.
We literally could not have gone back to the marina. So, but we were able to go and pump out one more time, one more docking experience, and then the final dockage back at the spot where we left.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
It
So
was a
we
good time.
had another checklist to go over when we got back. Make sure everything was stowed and everything that we brought was taken out. You know, make the boat cleaner than when we found it, and then rinsed it off and
Headed out.
headed out. We didn't get a lot of footage. You know, we were concentrating, being in the moment, being in the class.
Right.
So
it wasn't applicable to be like, hey, hang on a second, we're gonna make a
Right.
video.
Right.
So yeah,
I,
not a
I
lot
wish
of,
we could have shown you more about how that storm looked, because,
Yeah.
but just picture Gilligan's Island.
So that's about it for this video. We appreciate you guys checking us out and continuing to watch us and all that kind of
Right.
stuff. Leave us a comment below if you're interested in taking those classes or anything, or if you already took it. I'd like to hear everybody else's
It's experience.
stories and all
Mm-hmm.
that. I mean,
If you have any questions, about the class or any specifics,
Yeah.
that we didn't answer,
let us know. It's hot, so our biminy's still in disrepair, so we're going to get out of the sun, maybe go wash the boat off, and that's about it.
All right.
Yeah, so catch you guys next time.
Bye.
See ya.